we're going to be able to go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So today I have my friend, my brother Terry Spencer here. Before we get started, uh, if you want to keep track with what I have going on, check out my website, caveofmystery.org. And but today we're going to be talking about aliens, the celestial councils, how that deals with sonship, just the chaos of it all. Because why not? But today I brought my friend Terry on because he recently had encounters with aliens that, well, why not have him tell his story and then me instead of me tell his story? So Terry, if you could introduce yourself, and then I guess the floor is yours.
All right. Oh, awesome to see you guys, and especially you, Nelson. Thank you for the honor of being on with you. I've been following with you for quite a while, and we've been together one time before. Was that on your platform? I think it was.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, fun. We're all tracking on the same thing. And, uh, you know, some of my history, I've been in the apostolic and prophetic for 30 years. And, things just seem to get boring, same old thing, repeat, repeat, especially the New Year prophetic words. And, it just seemed very basic. And then you had some people doing the horoscope like prophetic words that were general and they thought those were great and wonderful, but I just began to just think there's got to be more. There's got to be more. And I began exploring. I'm a truth seeker and I'm an explorer. One of my main Facebook groups is Courtrooms of Heaven, and that's got 22,000 people on there. But it's kind of rebranding everything right now to the mystic realms of the supernatural and the cosmos, and it's just really I'm finding more. I'm going places, and some of you may be doing that too. I'm going places where they told us not to go. And
Yeah.
I said, I tried to explain to people that, I'm not, I, I don't like the spirit of religion. I honor the church where I've been and the people that have been in my life very much. I love them and honor them. And I love the church, but I don't like the spirit of religion in the church. But what happened is when I started stepping out and telling people and posting on Facebook and my other platforms that I have no religion. My religion is love. Ziggy Marley's got a great song, "Love Is My Religion," and that's really, to me, a great song about where we're going. And what we're doing is finding divine truth in every realm. I look in a lot of places, and so I'm a researcher. So I research, and I want to encounter more than I research because knowledge puffs up and makes one prideful and arrogant. But I want to have that real life encounters and real life experience that where I can reveal divine truth in whatever I find. And I'm finding it in a lot of different platforms that the Christian religion would tell us not to go there. It's all
Yeah.
demonic. I'm sure
This
you've been through that too.
Yeah, just getting to view your journey, I've been excited just because of the very same thing. I love watch people make the decision to follow truth regardless of faction. That if it's truth and if it's of the spirit, it's of truth and of the spirit, and nothing else needs to be around it. Leaving the faction wars for the embrace of the real kingdom. So I love it. uh,
Yeah, I think
I've
one of
been
my
on the
first
same journey for a few years now of embracing truth as it is,
as it
letting
is.
go of the labels, trying not to fit anything into a box, letting things be what they are.
Yeah,
Something I learned in many scenarios is that if something tells you what it is, believe it. And
right, right,
oftentimes the trouble comes in with trying to rebrand certain things to make them something that they're not.
right.
So
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you, just letting things be what they are and learning from it what you can.
Yeah, I really had I wanted to post the truth where I find it. And one of the first posts I made, I have this huge following on Facebook and three or four different groups that I created. And uh, on my personal profile, I posted something to the effect is God so loved the world, and that's all that scripture I used. And what makes uh, Christianity have an exclusive right on divine truth if he loved the whole world? And boy, that was they hammered me hard on that one. I was just laughing at them. I finally learned, just ignore them. You can't argue with them. They're right in their own mind, and you're wrong. They don't want to communicate with you to understand. So if they just want to be critical and fault finding, I just ignore them, and
Yeah,
I delete.
I'll tell you what leaders are more comfortable telling people like me in private. They actually agree with you. They're just afraid of what the masses will do if the masses started to embrace that. You don't know
Right.
how many pastors tell me that, oh, we love what you teach. You're one of my favorites. It's just that if more people knew that, then I don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, right, right.
So
Yeah,
they'll
well,
attack me in public and say, keep going in private.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm used to that.
Yeah, no, why are the prophets not prophesying what we're talking about tonight? They want their platform, they want their audience, and it's sad. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. But I hope to be a voice of the awakening,
Yeah.
and that I think that's my mandate from the Lord. I don't claim any religion. I just tell people I'm Christ-centered spirituality, uh, Christ consciousness, Christ-centered, and so. Everything has to lead to Christ to me. Everything has to be divine truth, and that whether they say Christ or not, that's where I'm translating everything into.
Yeah.
Some of it, they use different language of what we do or we have been using, but you can see a lot of divine truth in literally every religion out there.
Yeah.
You know,
It's about trying the spirit by the spirit instead of trying everything by my doctrine.
yeah, right, right. Our programming is what I call it.
It's like if you allow the spirit to reveal itself, like in Christianity, when going through the Bible, they would tell you something along the lines of, oh, you can find Jesus in every book of the Bible. You just have to allow him to reveal himself to you. Well, I apply a similar principle to every facet of life is I look for the fullness of the royal family to reveal themselves to me in everything. All the truth, all the light, all the life, everywhere.
Yeah. And I found, some of the new age people and the metaphysical people and a lot of the other what I call believer groups out there
Hmm.
are more loving than Christianity. Christians are. And
Yeah,
it shouldn't be that way. We're God is love. We're sons of God. We should be loving unconditionally. And boy, that wasn't the case. So you post something outside or talk about something outside of their program, and you're going to get slammed. They're going to try to correct you. I've been told I'm going to hell. I'm sure you have too. I said, well, if there's no hell, I don't have anything to worry about. so, so that's a whole another subject. So I'm sure you talked about some of that before too. But
oh yeah.
but
I before I remembered this morning, I was like, I want to go live and talk about hell, and I was like, oh, I can't do that today. Me and Terry are going live,
yeah,
so I
that's
almost got on here and did that today.
oh well, that's an awesome subject. I wasn't totally into it. I move slowly, very slowly,
Mhm.
because I don't want to just jump on the latest greatest person or the latest greatest revelation, however wild and crazy it is. I just process that, and if I can get Jesus out of it, or I'm all in it. But it just takes me a while to embrace something, and I'm going into some wild places. I know you are too, and it's just we have some of the same people we learn from, and So it's pretty amazing. This is the most exciting time. I'm 70 years old, man. I don't have any time for the critics and the fault finders. I want divine truth, and I'm sharing that. I don't care what they think so much. It doesn't bother me. It did for a while, and I realized if you want to talk about chakras, I was going into this realm of uh, things landing in my lower chakras, and it was bothering me. And I said, okay, I got to come up to a higher frequency and get out of that. It wasn't really a depression. I could just feel a heaviness about.
Yeah.
I was I was you give energy to whatever you focus on. So I was focused on all these negative uh, fault finders and critical people, and it was causing an effect on my body and on my soul and my spirit. It was just weighed down. So okay, I got to take a month off here, and I'm
Hmm.
going to process this thing. And then the month off was just total silence almost. And just research and study and meditate and seek the Lord for where I'm go in this, and I found it, and well, I said, I'm going all in, and you don't care what people think, but I'm finding the more.
Yeah.
I'm finding it, and it's exciting. It's really, truly exciting to find.
So a few weeks ago, yeah, let's just say a few weeks ago, I was in Florida, but I wasn't able to stop and see you. But someone else or a group of people came by and saw you anyway. You recently shared that you had encounters with, I believe it was the Pleiadians and the Arcturians. So, kind of talk about that for a bit. I'm curious.
All right, yeah, I've been looking at all these things and hearing a lot about extraterrestrials, and it's something that's been covered up by the government forever. And some of these ancient texts, the Sumerian texts about the Anunnaki and all these different hieroglyphics you see in the ancient caves and pyramids are just incredible. So there's something to this. And what I began to do, I felt like it was they're not demons. Number one,
Yeah.
the church is going to label them as demonic, so we won't go there. And uh, I began to see them as God's creation. And so I want to honor them. I began to invite them to begin to partner with me to do whatever they're supposed to do. I had no idea at the time. I saw a lot of things going out there that they are not evil. They're benevolent beings that love us and want to partner with us and help us move from 3D to 5D, help restore the earth. There's a lot of different things maybe we can talk about here in a little bit. But uh, I was into that for about 2 or 3 weeks. Just in my meditations, I would honor them and invite them. Come, I want to know you. If you're God's creation, I want to partner with you because what I'm reading, what I'm studying, is that you're benevolent. You want to engage with us. So I want to be a forerunner in that. I want to be the voice of the awakening in that. So that's what I did. And 2 weeks ago, I had the first encounter with them, the Council of Elders, the Palladian elders, which surprised me. And here I was coming into this room. It's like a conference room with just the elders of the Palladian race, I guess I don't know if you'd even call them a race, species. And I wasn't able to see what they looked like. I now understand that they're more Nordic type beings and tall, and a lot of them maybe white hair and blue eyes, that kind of look, really human looking. But I didn't get a chance to hear what was going on in the meeting. But they were so honored to see me, to have me there. It was really honoring. They were just going out. How about how they honored me to be up there, and I didn't, I just this is a dream encounter, and I just was there, and that was the end of the dream. It was just a very short thing, and it was very honoring. Don't know anything about what happened there, and then another week later, I had the same type of meeting with the Arcturians. Same scenario, same situation. I'm going, okay, there's something to this. Why me? you know, and I believe it's just an honor issue. I think they're in part of this awakening. I believe they're looking to partner with somebody to help open up the pathway for them to come. And most of the sites I'm researching say that within two 2 to 3 years, we're going to have open contact with extraterrestrials. And I just had in my spirit, since I experienced the Palladians first, that it would be them first, and other people were beginning to say that. And so I believe that part of my mandate as the voice of an awakening is that I'm to reveal who they really are, why they're really coming, and that anybody can begin to partner with them, whosoever will. If you know Karina Patakis, that's her famous statement: "Whosoever will." And so, whosoever will engage with them, honor them, and be willing to partner with them, it's going to be a wild ride. And I can't describe it at this point because I know nothing beyond that. I know part of their. I just heard this post the other day, was really wild. That what the Palladians will do is they'll bring a holograph message to us to reveal our past, present, and future, to show our true identity. Uh, uh, of everything written on our scrolls of destiny from before the foundation of the world to to eternity, throughout all eternity, to show us just exactly what's going to happen, so we won't have to go through this human ego thing. And so that's pretty incredible. I'm going, my gosh, look at that. And their whole mission is to raise a high consciousness level to humanity, to partner with us, move us from 3D consciousness to 5D, which is, basically unconditional love. I say, man, I'm all in this. I've had dreams about unconditional love, and uh, just help us to be their uh, forerunners and a breakthrough to condition people to accept them. So when that there's supposedly supposed to be one major event within 2 to 5 years that'll be open contact where nobody can deny their existence anymore.
Hmm.
And but I think I posted an article from a U.S. Army sergeant major that was part of the government cover up for UFOs and across America. And now he's exposing. So I believe what's happening now is we're part of the exposure before the Great Awakening. So exposure has to happen before a great awakening. We're seeing that pretty much across the board now in government and every sphere of society, and especially in the church. That's happening now, and business, family, uh, arts and entertainment. Man, that's really happening, right? You've been following that. That's really been blowing up. But it's going to hit everybody in a personal way. And you can't point to the church because we are the church. We're the Ekklesia. We're the governing body of Christ. So it's hitting on an individual base, and it's really uncomfortable right now because he's exposing our programming so that we deal with it ourselves. So we won't point our finger at a demon anymore. I haven't done warfare. Maybe you're the same way in 4 or 5 years.
Years.
Yeah, and, there's no need to. The devil's already defeated, so all those preconditioned, mindsets and false religious beliefs brought us into this place where he's exposing all that now, and it's hitting hard. It's hitting hard and fast, and we have to be open enough to my favorite prayer is Psalms 139. It says, "Search me, O God, know my heart, try me, test me in the courts of heaven, and know my anxieties, and see if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." So, man, that's a powerful prayer. If you want to make that, you better look out for things that are going to be exposed in you. But we
Yeah.
do that. And we're all wanting more. I don't care where you are, we're all wanting more. And I believe that's really happening. The exposure has to happen before the great awakening.
Yeah.
So if you want to
So
be in a position, go ahead.
so uh people have heard me say before that I've read the Bible, like the whole thing, several times. That's rare in general. Most people have it's a joke that I've heard that the First Amendment and the Bible are two of the most quoted texts that most people have never read. But I actually have read the whole thing, and in doing so, one of my favorite books in the Bible is actually Job, just because of how much is actually there. But most people don't read Job because they're afraid of the impartation they're going to get from Job. When most people think of Job, they think of, God tried him and took away everything he had, and then he went through all this strife and stuff, and then eventually, I don't want that. So people, for once, they're believers. They believe they'll get what Job walks in, so they avoid that book. But Job did a few things that I found inspirational. And, there's the poetic language of the Bible, so certain things get kind of hidden. But one of the earliest things it says is that his feet were anointed with butter or oil. It referenced the ability that he had of shifting between dimensions and traveling in other worlds. Enoch and Elijah, they get all the credit for going into and out of the heavens, but Job's specific form of traveling wasn't even him leaving the natural plane and going into the spirit world. He was traveling into the other dimensions within the natural world. And it's even referenced that he was actually, a fair amount of the book of Job is him trying to get someone to cover for him because he can't show up to the court session that he wants to. He's like, I'm down, I'm out, I can't make it. And he's trying to find a replacement. He's trying to find a sub. So, and then there's other things hidden in there. There's the discourse about whether the zodiac is holy or unholy, whether it's a lesser or a higher. Well, Job actually talks about it. It's just they speak Hebrew. So it goes over people's heads. Like one of the verses, I believe it's, Job 38, 31 through 34, where he says, "Can you bind the sweet influences of Pleiades,
Ladies, yeah, right.
or loose the bands of Orion? Can you bring forth the Mazzaroth in its season?" Well, the word Mazzaroth and zodiac are the same thing. So it's
Right.
talking about a position of sonship working with the zodiac. He says, "Can you guide Arcturus with his sons? Can you know the ordinances of heaven? Can you set the dominion thereof in the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that abundant waters may cover thee?" I like the way that the Message says some of that, where it says, "Can you get Venus to look your way, or get the Great Bear and her cubs to come out and play?" It says, "Can you get the attention of the clouds and commission a shower of rain? Can you take charge of the lightning bolts and have them report to you for orders?" Oh, Job is all about sonship, but functioning in a dimension. It's a governmental position. This is what the Ekklesia really looks like. See, everyone's looking to Ecclesiastes. They miss Job. Job is what it means, because there's a few things that happen across the board. Certain beings don't interact with people while they're in a religious mentality, regardless of the religion. So one of the things that happens to us is when we finally let go of whatever faction we started off in, we tend to start having a lot more encounters. Because beings are like, well, if I would have showed up before, you would have called me a demon and tried to cast me out. But the same kingdom that you're of instructed me to give you these information, these tools, and we have some work to do. The word ecclesia means the governing body. It was an assembly, just talking about function. When he said that on this rock I will establish my ecclesia, when he said church, it was the word ecclesia at that time, which meant governing body. The governing body was the assembly of judges and ambassadors, where they would meet together to decide the fate of their region, their world. Like you said, you were meeting with the council of Pleiadian elders, with Arcturian elders. This is what the ecclesia's real function on the earth is for. It's to host an environment where heavenly hosts can begin to not only fellowship, but convene, because there's work that needs to be done all over the universe. And most of it they have to do without our help, because most of us are in a trance. Most of us are busy with goofball work,
Yeah,
preoccupied in fan clubs
preoccupied.
instead of
We get
really doing
into
this kingdom thing.
yeah, that's amazing. You said all that. Can you do this? Can you do? Yes, absolutely yes. And one of my favorite scriptures, probably the most awesome prophetic word from the Bible, is stated in present tense, and it says, "As He is, so are we in this world." But if you look in the concordance, the word "world" means cosmos.
Yep.
And then I make it personal. I actually have it embossed on my Bible: "As He is, so am I in all creation." So if if I'm in this union, if we're looking at the law of one that a lot of people are talking about, I am one with all creation. I'm one with Him, the Holy Trinity, the angels, the seraphim, the Pleiadians and the Arcturians, the Syrians, and all these other beings out there, all creation, the trees, the birds, and the rocks, and mountains, and beaches, and oceans. And is uh, I have a responsibility to operate in His omnipresence. I I give Him, uh, you know, I still operate. I don't want to do anything according to my own will. Nevertheless, not my will be done, but yours. But in that oneness, God, Yahweh, whatever you want to call Him, shares His omnipresence, His omniscience, and He also shares His omnipotence. For what? Exactly what you're talking about, uh, delivering creation from the bondage of corruption.
Yeah.
And so there we are. It's a huge, huge responsibility, far beyond building your ministry. In fact, I just recently canceled my website. I had two of them. I canceled both of them. All I do is Facebook and a couple other platforms, and that's it. I mean, I don't want to focus on building my ministry because it's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, asked me one time. He said, "Terry, are you a owner or are you a steward?" I go, "Oh my gosh, I think I'm an owner, but I want to be a steward, so I own nothing. It's all give Him the glory." And that's what Jesus said: "If you see me, you see the Father." That's what I want. That's what I hope to help people move into, that awareness, that consciousness that everything we do is in oneness with Him and union with Him and a marriage with Him, that we live and move and have our being in Him, and He has the opportunity to live and move and have His being in us and through us. So I'm just a vessel. We're just vessels. We're not to claim a ministry or a title or any of that other stuff, man. It's just like, "Ugh." It- and I've deleted so many of the old uh, church age people, if you want to call it that, that are stuck in those realms. I want to, Wayne Gretzky was the greatest hockey player of all time, considered that by
Mm-hmm.
many. He said one statement one time, and I really kind of focus everything I do. Interview he was in, the reporter asked, "What what makes you such a great hockey player?" He said, "I don't skate to where the puck is. I skate to where the puck is going."
Hmm.
And so that's been my philosophy all for quite a while. That was probably 10, 15 years ago. I heard that and I go, oh, yeah, I don't like staying in in a previous realm of God's glory, because if I do, I'll open the door to a spirit of religion to come in. I think I've had my platform there and it's been effective a little bit, but we're supposed to move from glory to ever increasing glory. And, this is the awakening he's bringing to everyone.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not limited to Christianity, and I had to come out of it to come to the awareness of this thing about consciousness. What I love about some of these other platforms is believer groups is they're really concerned about the soul, and the most of the church doesn't talk about how the soul works.
Yeah. Most people I found out are in denial that they have a soul to begin with. Where they and it oftentimes get covered up in lingo because a lot of people use soul and spirit interchangeably. Anatomy is my thing. So not only do I know that the soul and spirit are different, I understand the anatomy of the difference between the two separate bodies. So I know how they both work. And most people's problems are in the soul that they don't think they have.
Mm. Then we're talking about moving from 3D to 5D. Have you been into that any?
Just a little bit. I
I wonder.
usually I I struggle with learning dimensions in up from other people because okay, let me explain this in this way, right? So one of the things that I got when, elementary school, they're teaching us, 1D is just a line, 2D, it's a flat surface, only has two axes. 3D, it has three axes. So what I'm getting is that every time you go up a dimension, the realm is not changing. What's changing is the perspective, and you gain another access point. It's another mode of travel per se. So once you get into 4D, what I understand the fourth dimension to be is time and space itself, where you gain the access of moving not just where but when, so you can be whenever you want to be. So the idea that, oh, only God is omnipresent is like, no, really anything higher than the fourth dimension is fourth dimension or higher, because none of it's bound by time and space. So when we get to the fifth dimension, I'm like, so what would be the next axis? Because think about it, they always show us in forms of shapes, but it's the real thing is perspective, and it's gaining another angle. So it's like, if I'm beyond time and space, what is this new realm that I'm in? And I like the idea that you have of saying that it's just unconditional love. That makes sense to me, because it's the idea of love covering a multitude of sin. The word sin really is just separation. So it's simply becoming one with everything. Now we're in a place of non-movement. We're so connected, there are no more axes. It's kind of how I understand the fifth.
Right, right. Let me present just a little bit different perspective then. I
Go
agree
for
with
it.
that 100%. But when you look at 3D, 4D, 5D, and beyond, think of it as density.
Yeah.
And that makes a whole different meaning. I just give some examples here. I've got a picture pulled up. 3D is ego, association, duality, labels, separation, control, rules, status, materialism, stuff like that. 4D is you're beginning to process uh, seeking answers, understanding, awareness of connection. Now, 5D goes into unity consciousness. So it's all about five density, and is a lot about our levels of consciousness. It's very similar to what you're talking about. Heart centered, heart brain cohesiveness, heart brain connection, uh, high frequencies, authenticity, divine, I mean, uh, unconditional love, abundance, flow state. We're doing that. We're just flowing. We hadn't planned anything out except for talk about some extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Uh, Co-creators, and there's more. I just want to share a little bit of that with you. I love a guy named Aaron Abke. Is an ex preacher's kid, came out of religion. Is he's a interesting teacher in all these different realms. Law of one, and talks about all that so in a way that we can understand him. He's still Christ centered and God and all that. So I like those kind of people that I can kind of relate to, because God showed me that in a dream 15 years ago, that I was a bridge from one age to the next stage. And back then it was church age to kingdom age. Now it's kind of, I'm still to be a bridge, but a voice for the awakening. So it's kingdom. We're still in the kingdom, but we're awakening to greater possibilities, and I'm to be a voice for that. Uh, I hope I be operating in wisdom of the Lord and all that. And, you know,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to build a big, huge following. I have a YouTube channel that's been rebranded as well and called Mystic Awakening Podcast, and still under my name, but I've added that to it. And so it's kind of fun. It's like the people that are there, like you and me, and are surprising to me.
Mhm.
And we do a weekly broadcast on Patreon where it's just open talk. I'm not preachy. We're just talking about. I've created a safe place for all these people to talk and share their wild, crazy revelations and encounters, and not get kicked out of the group.
Yeah.
So nobody's right,
I
nobody's
try to
wrong.
do that in my server, but everyone just comes to hear me teach. I'm like, "Hey, y'all got any feedback? Y'all want to talk?" And they're crickets.
Yeah,
So I try.
that took me a long time to get across to people. Hey, you're not a pew sitter anymore. You're just as awesome and amazing as anybody out there. You're all superheroes. You're all have a huge destiny. I want you to share. And now they're open, and that's all we talk about. Everybody has a free platform to talk.
So I wanted to talk about one of the other things I wanted to bring up. So you got to meet with the Pleiadians and the Arcturians. I met with, I've had a few encounters with the Syrians and with the Lyrans.
Oh,
Uh, and uh, and it's just me sitting in the spirit, and I'm like, well, that's not an angel. What's that? I'm like, okay, that's something new. It's lower, but it's not evil. What's that? And it's like, oh, they're still a part of our government. They just function in the cosmos rather than in the spirit realm or even in the astral plane. I'm like, okay. But one of the questions I asked is, what makes us so special? Why does it seem like all the animals, all the plants, the fungi, people, all these different races, these aliens are interested in us? I'm like, what makes us so special? And funny enough, right? I was asking mom, I was asking Holy Spirit this, and I said, and she brought me back to one of my favorite TV shows when I was a kid, Ben 10. And as soon as she referenced it, I knew exactly what she was talking about. In the show, for those of you who hadn't seen it, it's the story of a kid who gets this alien watch that allows him to transform into different aliens, and he uses it to battle the bad guys and so on and so forth. And it's considered the universe's greatest weapon. Well, eventually he meets the creator of it, the Omnitrix, the Omni Matrix. And he tells them, well, it wasn't actually intended to be a weapon. I created it as a tool of unity so that everyone could get a chance to see what it's like to live in another's shoes. I created it as a tool of compassion and community that just so happens to be the universe's most powerful weapon. So what I begin to understand is that, well, the human experience itself, we aren't the wearer, we are the Omnitrix. See, the Omnitrix, the device, had DNA of all the species within the universe, making the wearer somewhat related to everything. That's us. We're everyone's cousin. We're everyone's sibling, because in a way, depending on which creation story you like, it pretty much took all of creation to sculpt us in one way, shape, or form. Uh, in the Kemetic tradition, well, I'll start with the Hebraic first. So the word is Adam for the first man, but that first man is androgynous. The word Adam means, well, it's two part. It's Aleph, meaning the spirit or God or breath, and then Dam, meaning blood. So it's the blood of God as a physical embodiment. Well, blood is a record, so it's the records of God, the information of God as an entity, and it's androgynous because there's masculine and feminine in Adam, in the Godhead, so that both went into making that singular form, and that Adam was in a way related to God. Well, it's not till I started studying Kemeticism and really getting in good with the Egyptians, I looked at their creation story in a way. And one of their top deity figures, their Netchers, is Adam, just spelled a little different. And he is pretty much all of the universe in one form, the all in one. And I don't believe they actually go against each other. Within Atom is the plants, the animals, the cosmos. You get your stardust. You get all these different elements, everything in the universe condensed into a human form. If you've ever heard my story of the first time I met Yeshua, that's how he looked to me. All of outer space condensed into a humanoid form. One of the things that I've been teaching forever is that however the royal family reveals themselves to you is a dimension they're trying to invite you into. I'm just now understanding the invitation almost 6 years later, that it was the interconnectedness of mankind with all of creation, which is what even gives us the ability to act as ambassadors and actually function as priests with all these different creations, is that technically we're related to them too. That we are Syrian, we are Pleiadian, we are Arcturian, we are Lyran. It goes into our makeup. The plants, the animals, feline, canine, bovid, all of that is mixed in with us. This is what gives us the ability to interact with things that no other creation can do. We are the all in one expressing, or let's just say the expression of the all in one, which gives us the ability as one to interact with all.
Oh, love it, man. I 100% agree with you. In fact, uh, Dr. O, right?
Yeah.
He talks about three atoms.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he talks about Adam Havrashan is one of them. Uh, I'm not sure, remember which one was which. The
Cadman.
man made from uh, in his likeness and image, and then another one was the dust of the earth, and then the Adam Kadmon was
Mm-hmm.
like the all encompassing. All of creation is encompassed in the Adam Kadmon, and it's pretty fascinating. And you hear stories about and posts about the entire universe, all creation is within you. It's like, yeah, you're that that type of being where you are Adam Kadmon, and
Yeah.
you are that what holds the entire creation, and it's constantly expanding. So it's like, I look at that, it's like, okay, I can communicate because everything is energy, everything is light. I can communicate with literally everything if I just open my uh, sensitivity senses to that.
Yeah.
And I'm finding, oh my gosh, I'm finding when I do that, I'm honoring creation, and honor attracts honor, right?
Yeah.
So that is a process of engaging creation beyond what we were told we were able to do
Yeah. And when the
or
father
waiting.
started teaching me about like atom and like this all in one stuff, I remember he called me to, like, the father called me to his office, and I stood next to him on a table, and pretty much he demonstrated the fact that pretty much everything that you love is on the inside of you, and he was able to pour out all of creation. And he started giving me codes and revelation regarding love. He said people have a hard time loving what they don't relate to. That's pretty much the source of all the strife, all the envy, all the isms and the schisms. Is you're something different than me, therefore I can mistreat you. I see you as something other than, and I choose that, and I'll decide that that other than equals less than, and that gives me the right to mistreat you. Regardless of how that manifests, that's the ideology. It's the lack the ability to see yourself in another creation. People who mistreat animals, people who mistreat nature, people who mistreat uh, people of the opposite gender, people who mistreat people in general. Uh, it's them being able. It's a lack of the ability to see themselves as another, which really brings that love your neighbor as yourself thing back to circle. Is realizing that me and my neighbor are one isn't just a true answer to throw out. It's a reality we're supposed to live in, where we're able to truly empathize and sympathize with all of creation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, man. It's so powerful. The other thing that I see really happening is we were conditioned to think uh, we have to wait, we have to contend, we have to tarry, we have to press in, brother. The promise is just around the corner. But, in this 5D density is everything is now.
Yeah.
It's like that statement, as his, so am I in all creation. That's a present tense statement. So when you see an eternal purpose within everything that happens in your life, number one, you won't blame a demon.
Hmm.
You start looking, doing some introspection within yourself, within your soul, to find out what's going on here, and you can actually access. Uh, Speak to those things that are not as though they were. Declare a thing and it shall be established. It's not a self will uh, charismatic witchcraft thing. It's a governing what already exists,
I think
and we
that's
do
Job
that
too.
by speaking. That's how God created. So as in His likeness and image, that's how we create. So whenever you're in agreement with something that manifest. I'll give you an example. I'm under a demonic attack. Will y'all pray for me? Well, you just came into a legal agreement that you're under a demonic attack. If I haven't done warfare like I said earlier for several years now, and I don't have any attacks because I just ignore. And the more you ignore darkness, uh, and the more you know that you are a son of light, darkness is gonna ignore you, can't touch you. You know.
Yeah. Like, in a way, a lot of times when people say that they're under attack, it's a branding that they were taught in church. It's not even real demonic attack most of the time.
Right.
I'd say a large majority is just consequences of actions. It's
Yeah.
like, oh no, I refuse to pay attention to my kids for years and they've graduated and don't like me anymore. Oh, the enemy is after my family. It's like, no, I think you
Yeah.
mishandled your kids
Yeah. Yeah.
and now they
Yeah.
don't have to put up with you anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to blame a demon. Then you can go get a demon cast out of you at the prayer line next Sunday, and everything will be all right. But it doesn't work.
Yeah. Cuz it's all about the ego, right?
Right.
The
Right.
idea that I'm so important that, oh, I just have hits put out on me by the devil all day every day.
Yeah.
And I made somebody mad one time. I was like, all you do is go to church. You're not a threat to the enemy. You're not doing anything. It's not a hit out on you. You're just under attack. No, it's just regular everyday chaos that happens to normal people. You're just a normal person.
Yeah. I tell you, a dream I had last night was kind of unique. I used to have a lot of dark demonic people attacking me when I was younger in the Lord, and I
Hmm.
thought it was demons and all that, and maybe was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but countless dreams of trying to escape out of prison. Last night, I hadn't had one of these kind of dreams for a long time, and I was went to work my first day working in a car dealership,
Hmm.
and all these salespeople were gathered around and I looked out the window, and we were like up on the second floor, and there was a gang came up and shot a few of the salesmen, and then they came inside, had all of us uh, gathered in one corner, and threatening to kill us. And they had this one guy came up to me and had his like a hatchet. Just one of it was like one end was just lodged kind of on my eye where it could just rip my face off, you know. And I'm going, well, there was no fear
Hmm.
whatsoever. There was no fear in me, you know. And I woke up right after that, and I was just like, okay, no big deal. I think they wanted me to uh, to show some fear or something. I don't know what the whole deal was
Yeah.
about. It's probably a lot of interpretation involved there. But what was cool is I just ignored him like it was nothing. There was no fear, and I thought about, you know, kind of. I sometimes practice going into a dream and a vision encounter, and where I wasn't looking at him in the face in uh, in the vision, I continued the dream, and I just looked at him with a just staring at him in the face, like, "Do you know who I am?" And I just began to smile at him, and he backed backed off, and I wasn't engaging. Get get behind me, Satan! There wasn't any of that stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And it's just like he had to see who we are, who I
Yeah. It's
am.
like once the I am registers, all the fighting's over.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you walk into a dark room and you turn on the light. Does the darkness argue?
Nah.
No, he's already defeated. He just has to go. So yeah.
So kind of just going back towards the topic of like the aliens and like outer space and stuff, one of the greatest movies that talks about this and structures it well is Jupiter Ascending. It's a movie about how pretty much the planets and the solar system and galaxies are governed by a royal family.
Oh,
And in the middle of that movie, they're in a conflict because the person who used to rule Earth died and they're fighting over the throne of Earth. uh, so it kind of reminded me of something I've been teaching on lately about who actually owns Earth right now. You know, the Christian answer is to just say, "Oh, Jesus owns everything." It's like, uh, nah. There's delegations, there's governments, and things like that. Yeshua is specifically seated on other thrones that are over the earth, but he's not actually on the earth throne. The one who's actually governing Earth right now is his son, Michael. uh, yeah, Archangel Michael is actually the one that's governing our planet right now. So think about that. Like, back to that Ekklesia idea of actually meeting with governmental officials. You know, when you kind of divorce the religious perspective of all this and just look at it as government, it's like, what right do I have to speak to the government of this earth unless I am a part of a government that they're a part of? Now we're on business together. I have a business and a governmental reason to be in relationship and interaction with the sovereign. Right? So that's one of the things that I've started to realize, and then me and Michael's relationship has gotten pretty good as of late, just because I understand his function. Because typically the idea is, oh, the archangels, they have this high title and they're just in the heavens somewhere doing something. but they're the important guys. It's like, nah, they have jobs. It's like,
Right.
oh, I pray like Saint Patrick's breastplate prayer, where he's like, this one before me, that one behind me. Um, it's like, yeah, the idea of walking with the archangel sounds great, but they don't do that for religious people. They do it for people who understand their governmental identity. That's something I started to understand uh, more recently, but the introduction to it started back in either late May or early June of this year, which is really understanding that certain dimensions and certain realms won't deal with you until you accept yourself as a Christ figure. Until you see yourself as Christ and you begin to function as Christ, a fair amount of the heavens want nothing to do with you. uh One of them, one of the most like mysterious angels or archangels that people talk about is Metatron.
Right.
He's elusive. People are like, I've been praying for encounter, I've asked the Lord to take me to him, nothing happens. And it's like, what makes Metatron so elusive is because he governs a realm that either you are what you need to be to access or you're not, and there's no shortcuts. Metatron doesn't work with Christians. He doesn't work with Muslims. He doesn't work with any religious groups. He only works with Christs and Messiahs. And that because that's the dimension that he governs. He governs the realm of Christos. So the only way in is to be that which is allowed. So
Right.
I've only recently started sitting in on some of the meetings that happen in Metatron's court. And I'm like, oh, I see why I needed to let go of my religion to access this place. This is all beyond where I was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
It wasn't until I had that great divorce of my past that I would even be open to these new themes and topics and dimensions, these codings that they're revealing. Like I did a session on this on Discord, the recordings of it on the Patreon, where I was talking about how, well, pretty much this, that you have to come to a point of divorcing, in a way, divorcing your Christianity for Christhood.
Yeah.
Because there's beings, there's realms, there's dimensions that you won't gain access to no matter how hard you pray, fast. You can get people to pray for you and fast for you. It's not happening. It's identity based, it's government based. And just like in government, either you are in the position or you're not. So kind of reminds me of I think this was on your page, one of your groups, where you were talking about the Great White Brotherhood. They're a community of sons that function specifically in the cosmos. So they're a cosmic outlet for sons or for Christ. Uh, and they have a ton of, they have codes for Christhood specifically for those that are still universe bound. And I shocked people when I started sharing this. Aleister Crowley was actually one of them who was in communication with that brotherhood. And he hid his sonship under the guise of demon worship and Satan worship on purpose, just to scare off Christians and religious people. It's kind of like what you do to kids if you're eating something that you don't want to share. It's like, oh, what's that? Oh, this is spicy. You don't want it.
Right.
Aleister Crowley pretty much did that to the world. The being that he functioned with name was Iwas. And whenever people would ask him, who's Iwas? He'd say, oh, this is Lucifer. This is Satan. You don't want to talk with him. This is the devil. So they'd leave him alone. But in reality, Iwas was just a being from the Great White Brotherhood coming and teaching codes for sonship that Aleister was that he was instructed to steward. New revelation, because I've joked for years just because I hadn't studied the guy at all, and I was like, oh, if Aleister Crowley was still alive, I'd have him on my show. Only to find out that Aleister was actually one of us and was just hiding behind a branding.
I think we'd be surprised, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. I love it. The more is getting disclosed, the more we're finding out everybody's interconnected and everybody has a piece of the puzzle to play in every sphere of society and every dimension of the heavens. And it's just fascinating to me. One of the things while you were talking, I believe divorce is definitely what we need to do to begin to come into that. To me, it's like burning the bridge. There's no
Yeah.
way I can go back.
Yeah.
It's a divorce, different language, same thing. Uh, no, no desire to go back. That's my foundation, but I have to move on to build, the complete uh, castle. I guess you could use that word. But it's like I was thinking of this when you were talking about a little bit earlier about the Christian mindset is, well, God's in control, right?
Hmm.
Well, how's that been working for you? I believe he is. He's the grand creator of everything. I believe that's true, but I believe the governing body, the Ekklesia, is in more control because he's released it all to us. He's given us dominion. Psalm 8
Absolutely.
says, of the works of my hand, I've given you authority over. Romans 8 says, uh, all creation is, I tell you, a revelation I had a few years ago. Romans 8, all creation is groaning for the manifest sons to deliver from the bondage of corruption. He said when a son shows up, he didn't say manifest son. So this wasn't even a mature son. This was just a son.
Yeah.
When a son shows up, creation ceases its groaning and begins to rejoice because it's found someone who can deliver that, usually just by their presence. It can deliver them from the bondage of corruption. And you have found someone who will partner with you to help you fulfill your destiny. Now that's just exploded into a whole realm of, you know, ascended masters, the angels and the extraterrestrials, all creation. We're all have a vested interest in each other because we need each other, and we can't do it alone. We have to have, I guess, a governing team, what we used to call it in the courts of heaven, as all these entities and beings and rocks and fish and the wild beasts. And so it's just a fascinating life now that God has opened up to us since the divorce.
Yeah. One of the things that I found out just a few days ago. So this is a fresher revelation for me. And I'm doing a longer session going through all the intricacies of it another time. But all creation groaning. One of the things that I just found out is that the idea of all creation groaning is Christ the creator himself, that is the light that makes up the universe itself, releasing a frequency trying to wake us up.
Mm, that's
Is
good.
that which we're made out of, trying to shake us from the inside out. It's a fluorescent bulb, kind of like those glow sticks, cracking us and shaking us so that our light starts to shine.
I love it, man. We're going to get it one way or another, and,
Yeah.
and some of us who will choose willingly to divorce all the programming will be the forerunners,
Yeah.
and the ones that are lagging behind, they it's going to be a shocking awakening to them, like a forced, Paul Justin Abraham says, a forced awakening.
Hmm.
That's what I see it as. And that brings in the whole topic of uh, the ascension of the earth and the extraterrestrials. There's been talk about and this is highly speculative, that UFO will come and take those not ready to another planet while we're undergoing this new Earth concept, and the other ones will be here to establish the new Earth, the forerunners, and like you and me and others to launch the fullness of what it was intended to be. And so it's like, this is interesting stuff. It's like one of those things that I just kind of I let that percolate for a while. And, is it true? I
Yeah.
don't I don't reject anything just because my mind doesn't understand it, but I let it sit there and I process it until I get revelation. This is really true. But that's one of the things that's kind of going around right now.
There was, it kind of reminds me like this idea of working with the other beings in the cosmos and them revealing themselves to us. It reminds me of a story, uh whether it's historical or not is kind of debatable, but it's presented as historical, of the story of a guy who went by Valiant Thor, who pretty much was an alien who looks like a person, because most of a lot of aliens just look like people, they're just not from Earth, who showed up on Earth in the 50s and actually worked with the White House trying to give them codes and secrets to help advance humanity. And it ended with them pretty much not taking any of his advice. uh I wonder, like, let's just say that story did happen or it didn't happen, right? How many times has that really happened on Earth where beings have stepped in and said, this is what you need to do to advance, and then humanity just didn't do it? You know, you have a few famous examples of like Yeshua coming and give us a whole new structure, only for them to throw it throw it all in the trash 300 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why the government cover up?
Yeah.
That's in my opinion. There's probably a lot of reasons. Technological advances. Uh, revelation of people waking up and they want to lose their. They don't want to lose their control. Uh, you know, uh, I think if we had turned a different way in the election, it would have been more control. Where we're seeing a little fresh frequency, whether you believe Trump or not. I believe it's all, the saying. I don't participate in an earthly government. To me, it
Hmm.
goes back to Samuel, where they said, "Give us a king like all the other nations," and God said, "Well, they're not rejecting you; they're rejecting me."
Hmm.
And so, I don't want to participate in any system that dishonors and disrespects our Creator.
Yeah. I've been avoiding talking about the election until inauguration, but let's just say it could very well turn into a give us Barabbas.
Yeah, good turn anyway. I mean, it's
This
like,
is who you wanted. This
yeah,
is what you get. Have at it. You know,
yeah,
could very much be that.
yeah. But I did sense a frequency shift increase a little bit. Uh, People having some hope, and that's good and wonderful. I think that would have happened either way. I really thought Kamala would win.
So I'll tell you this. I counted the votes myself. She did. Now, how that ends up, because there's a lot to be done. Um, you know, it's the reason they have inauguration in January instead of, 2 weeks after November 5th.
Yeah, there was an interesting part of that where they kind of were out of character and just kind of quietly conceded, and there's something behind that will be exposed, whether
Yeah.
good or bad, both sides.
I actually got translated in the spirit to sit in on a meeting that was happening between some of our government officials and some other government officials. So pretty much what's happening is that our government's being blackmailed right now by another government.
Hmm.
Pretty much saying, if you don't give us him, we expose all of this. And yeah, it's pretty much what's going on behind the scenes. Our government's being blackmailed right now.
Yeah, it's gonna get crazy. Talk about exposure. It's coming. Uh, Both good and bad, I think. So
Yeah.
we're in for a ride.
Yeah. Me and my wife were moving to Kenya anyway, so
Are you okay? I'm staying in Florida. I got to go fishing.
but
Uh,
yeah, so man, this has been great. Like, because that's one of the things you mentioned earlier that I hope people caught, is the idea that other beings are not demons. necessarily. Yes, demons still exist. They are real. Sometimes casting out demons is necessary. Everything that scares you is not a demon. Even if we're using the Bible, holy angels would show up and their first word is fear not, means they're terrifying. You spend as much time in the heavens as I do, you'll realize there's scarier stuff in heaven and they try to convince you exists in hell. I think I've heard Dr. O say it in a way that there's things that only God could love in heaven.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just think about a seraphim, a fiery serpent. You know, what are you going to do when the seraphim shows up?
Yeah, dragons.
Dragons. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I want to engage everything. The ascended masters, Mary Magdalene, Melchizedek, Metatron, Enoch is actually one of my council members. So I'm really highly engaged with him. Whether he's in the, I think he's more of in the Enoch form rather than
Mhm.
Metatron because it's dealing with Earth. And I have been told I have a similar several times. Uh, through my encounters with Enoch that I have a similar calling or similar mandate as Enoch, but a different sphere of governing.
Yeah,
And so that's going to be interesting to unfold and unpack all that. And it just gets added more and more stuff to it about all the things are interconnected and how I can focus on being part of a great, wonderful team. And each one of us has that potential that's
right.
already inside of us.
Yeah. I feel like if I were to put a an understanding to the time period that we're in right now, it's the beginning of any superhero franchise where the superhero origin stories are starting and the guy who's going to put the team together is just now starting to look.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I love that. I think that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, we're at the before the Avengers period of time right now
yeah,
where a bunch of people are stepping into their calling and their identity. They've battled their past and they're just ready to help the world, and they'll soon find each other. We're going to
yeah,
start working together
yeah,
because what people are struggling with is how do I do kingdom work outside of a church construct? Because there's still the idea that ministering together or working together means I have to do a church conference, and the only way that we can work together is if I invite you to speak at my conference.
right, right.
Or we go out and we do a mission trip together or something like that.
Yeah,
In reality, that only does so much nothing. And when the kingdom's ready to do something, it takes a different structure. You know me, I do a conference a year for fun.
uh-huh.
I don't do it as like I don't even consider it furthering the kingdom all too much. I just do it for fun. It's just a celebration.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Because the work that I actually do, most people have no clue about. Like I put something on Facebook either yesterday or day before is that one of the greatest realizations that I came to is that my harshest critics have no idea what I do for a living. They don't know what I do.
Nope.
Um like people would ask, like people often don't like my methods and how I go about things, and they assume that I'm more soul led or flesh led than I really am. It's actually quite the opposite. There's topics I refuse to talk about until Holy Spirit fussed at me enough for me to become vocal. So I know where it's coming from when people try to silence me. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't mom because she actually is the one. She's the reason I'm talking about stuff. But people oftentimes don't like the way that I function and some of the things that I'm releasing for that same crowd control reason is that you're saying all the quiet parts out loud that we use to keep our congregation together. We know you're telling the truth, but you're messing with our structure. And in conversations I've had with different leaders and people over the past few months, really, a lot of them, under the guise of wisdom, will try to offer advice on how things should go, how you should do things. And you just ask them a simple question: what am I called to do? What's my calling? And they can't answer.
Right.
Here's the thing. I can't give you advice on a calling or on a destiny or an identity for you that I can't see. If I can't even see where you're supposed to be, what you're called to do, I in no way can speak into how you're functioning or any of that. That's the proof of true wisdom is clarity. I have to be able to see.
Yeah, right. Well, do you have a copyright on that? I can take it and use it. You need to copyright that one because
Yeah,
you're an owner, you know. Just
that one's my own. I got is
okay.
because I was
I got,
just sitting and I was like, they have no idea what I do.
yeah,
Because that's the whole thing. People forget that wisdom means clarity, is that
yeah,
you have to be able to see, not just, I don't like what you're doing and I'm emotional about it. What you're doing makes me uncomfortable. That's a given. I'm going to make someone uncomfortable regardless of the path I chose. My mom said a very dangerous prayer over me when I was a kid. I think it was before I was born. She prayed that I'd be successful whether I did good or evil. Whether I did good or bad, I'd be good at it. I chose to do good. I would still be good at this.
you're doing good, man. I
So if
love
I
it.
ever decided to go off the deep end, there's nothing no one can do about it.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
Benjamite blessing,
It's
success.
all in the plan, the destiny scrolls, right?
Yeah.
That's
But
so good, man. That's so
that's the
good.
place that most people are coming into. It's the clarity of knowing what you're actually called to do and how to do it, which means the opposite of that starts to emerge, which is the confusion or the doubt of who am I and what am I called to do, which sadly will come from people you probably respect. There's
Yep.
most likely going to be an emotional attachment of sorts to kind of reinforce the crab in a bucket syndrome. It doesn't work if a setback like that doesn't work if it's not someone that you care about. That's why Yeshua said, "You think I come to bring peace? No, I've come with a sword." Dads and sons are about to hate each other, moms and daughters, kids. Oh, yeah, y'all are finna be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Why? Because whenever a new thing begins, the old thing fights it first. And the families don't pick sides together. Individuals pick whether to stay in the past or move on with the things that's coming. Like you were saying, you got to stay flexible. So much talk about the Hebraic and moving as a Hebraic, embracing the Hebraic. A lot of that's just people wanting to be important again, but because the essence of the Hebraic is flexibility. It's moving when God moves and where God moves to. So if you go back to where God used to be, that's not Hebraic.
Right.
You're worshiping a casket.
Yeah.
That's what the Hebraic used to be. The Hebraic today is whatever God's doing today.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Yeah. It's so good. You know, it's just a wild, crazy ride in the unknown. You probably have experienced this. The more we know, the less we know,
Absolutely.
and it just gets bigger and bigger. He gets bigger and bigger. We get bigger and bigger in the process of unfolding, exposing, and revealing, and our true identity, and that we're all superheroes,
Yeah.
and we need to step in and do what we're supposed to do, whatever arena that's in. That's your thing. And God'll make a way. He is the way. He's the truth, and He's the life. Jesus, I guess both of them. They're the same. They're together. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this has been great. So, you have any final thoughts or
No, I just really, man. What have you got to lose? You have nothing to lose except your preconceived ideas and your programming. I'd put a post out there. You're not broken. You're just been programmed.
yeah,
And
you got
so,
to reset to factory settings.
yeah, search me, oh God. That's been my favorite prayer, and I use it a lot, and He shows me a lot, and I'll continue to use it because I believe the fullness of our maturity is 1 John 4:17, as he is, so am I in all creation.
Yeah.
Anything less than that is not maturity.
Yeah. People miss this one thing, right? When they came to crucify Yeshua, they didn't know who he was because all the closest people to him walked in the same measure as him. So they couldn't distinguish him from his disciples at that point because they were as he was. He said, I don't call you servants, I call you friends. Yet we're equals now. So they're like, which one is he? He's like, look, I'm gonna go over and kiss him so you know which one I'm talking about. Because if you try to feel him by the spirit or look at who's shining and glowing and how much love, you won't be able to fish him out. They
Yeah.
are what he is.
Uh, yeah, that's a cool way to look at it. I believe that's true. And so are we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something exercise that I've been doing is, or really just an encouragement and exhortment that I've been giving is, however you see him, start to see yourself as that. It's time out for us seeing ourselves as the woman with the issue of blood. We need to see ourselves as the one wearing the garment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
good.
if you're going to use the Bible, everywhere you see Yeshua, scratch his name out and put yourself
What's
there.
your name? Yeah.
Now, this is the way to get a God consciousness instead of a God complex.
Right. Right. I don't know. One of the most powerful books that I've ever read. I actually did it on a YouTube audiobook. Was the I Am Discourses of Saint Germain.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that changed my whole internal language
I think
about.
he's Pleiadian.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
I think so.
Oh, I have to look into that. But that was really, really powerful. I just recommend that to everybody. And it's a 10-hour video. You can find it. Just look it up on YouTube and you'll find it. Amazing, amazing. I listen to it once in a while, and there's other recordings there from him as well. So I just close with that. Just look that up, man. It'll change your internal language. I am sick to I am walking in divine health.
Yeah.
Just one example. You create by what you speak.
Yeah. I've often prescribed people to go on a 21 days of affirmations. Just talk to yourself different for 3 weeks and see
Yeah.
how different you come out.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. That's good too.
Yeah. So you gave a good book recommendation. So I'll give two. So there's mine, Fullness Guide to Sonship and Mysticism. But the ancient variant of that I found after I wrote my book is Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Barrett
Oh,
Spalding.
okay.
Audio book is available on YouTube. It's a journal of some scientists, some skeptics who went to the East to meet with some sons because they heard they could do some extraordinary things. So they went just to see if it was true. So the entire series is the journals of him describing what happened to them and what they got to experience firsthand following these sons around the East. And yeah, I felt robbed that no one had told me that book series existed uh, long ago. I'm like, if we start people there, there'd be no conflict. There's this idea of, oh, you have to start the new people with this old stuff that we're already throwing up and regurgitating. I'm like, if we started people off better, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, the I Am Discourses of Saint Germain, Fullness Guide to Sonship and Mysticism, people would be better off
Yeah.
starting off. That's the foundation. They're walking through walls and teleporting and creating money and creating food and all types of stuff as just a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
That's so good. We could go on and on and on about recommended resources, I think.
oh yeah, I have a full list of reading recommendations on the Discord server.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I do too. And more. Yeah. Yeah, so good, man. Thank you for having me on, and been a pleasure being with you again. It's not everybody we can talk about these things openly, and we're kind of on the same resonating frequency together. And so I honor you and what you're bringing out and sharing. Uh, Challenging material for a lot, but somebody's going to get it.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your awakening journey.
Oh, yeah, man.
Getting to
Brother.
watch the unfolding of Terry,
Yeah,
the
yeah. And I get to
unraveling, the awakening, the
unraveling.
stirring.
Yeah. A whole lot of unraveling and deconstruction right now, but it's good. Get to
Yeah.
build and deconstruct at the same time.
Yeah. Like I heard someone said that this revival that people keep looking for is what others are calling deconstruction.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But well, this has been great. Thank you all for joining us today. As I said at the beginning, to follow up with me and everything that I've got going on, caveofmystery.org. Everything you need is there. And also be sure to check out Terry on Facebook, just Terry Spencer on Facebook, and all his myriads of Facebook groups. What are the name of some of your groups, just in case?
Co-creators, governors, and courtrooms of heaven is the biggest one, 22,000. Uh, Sunship optimization dynamics and Enoch Flight School, where the really crazy stuff is being posted. I'm trying to ease in on the wild crazy on my personal profile. And then I have the Patreon group. We have a weekly Sunday meeting just to chat, open share, non judgmental, safe place. Patreon.com/revolution glory. One word. And it's cheap. Helps support me and pays my rent, man. It's like it's cool. Oh, it's all my travel. I was traveling all over the country. Stayed on the road all the time. COVID, all that went away. Did away with my website. That's gone. So it's just an interesting process. And I actually put a little uh, story up on Facebook the other day asking for some financial help, and I mean, God just really got on to me about that. He said, "Who's your source? Me or is it man?" So I pulled it. And the
Mhm.
next day, uh, I trade stocks and cryptos, and it's been kind of silent for a long time. All of a sudden, I had this big, huge spike in my crypto account and cashed in a little profit on that thing. So I was like, "Oh God, thank you." So he's my source. He's my provider. So, awesome, awesome to live a lifestyle of simplicity and with all creation.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today. Until next time, y'all be blessed.